The Trek Geeks Podcast Network is proud to have Fansets as its presenting sponsor. Fansets is the place for amazing pin collectibles with over 400 officially licensed Star Trek pins and new releases every month. Stay tuned for a special discount code good on your next order at fansets.com just for Trek Geeks listeners. Fansets. Our pins have character.
This episode is also sponsored by Science Division, the makers of the galaxy's first interactive tribble that you can control with your very own smartphone. See their limited edition giant silver tribble available for pre-order today at sciencediv.com. Science Division. Trouble's never been this fun.
Hi, this is Gates McFadden, who played Dr. Beverly Crusher from Star Trek The Next Generation, and you're listening to the Trek Geeks Podcast with Bill Smith and Dan Davidson.
From the Podfleet Command space dock, orbiting high above this big blue marble, it's the biggest little show this side of the Alpha Quadrant and the flagship of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network. Greetings to you, Trekkies all across the known galaxy and galaxies unknown, and welcome to the Trek Geeks Podcast. I'm your co-host, Bill Smith, and this is episode number 283. Woohoo! Yay us! We're excited to be here this week. We're excited to talk about a particular film that has celebrating a particular anniversary this particular week, and I'd like to bring on my particular co-host, who is particularly particular in his own particular way. He is the very particular Dan Davidson. And Dan, would you particularly like to talk about Star Trek today?
Nothing in particular.
Okay.
All right.
Great show.
It's great to be here, man. Thanks as always for a great introduction. It's episode 283 of the Trek Geeks Podcast. And 83 days to go till Vegas. So there's a little connection right there. 200 days apart, but 83 and 83. You see what I'm saying, right? Right?
Not remotely, but that's okay. You do, and that's what counts.
Exactly. No, it's great to be here. I love getting together and talking Star Trek with you and all the fun that we have. And we're going to talk about one specific film, like you mentioned today. I love it. I've always loved it. And that's Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock. There's a lot of stuff to talk about. There's a lot of good things and a lot of not so good things about this movie, I think, that you might have to say. And we're going to have a great time talking about it. And Reverend Jim might even show up. I'm just saying. It could happen.
What is the over-under on Reverend Jim appearances in this particular episode?
8.
8. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to keep that in mind. We're going to see if we can keep count of them along the way.
That's what I'm thinking.
There's one. Well, you're off the schneid now, you know? This is our friend Trey Womack's favorite Star Trek movie. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
It is. He loves Star Trek 3 unabashedly.
Huh.
In full disclosure, we'll get into this as we talk, about the movie. It's not my favorite.
I love it.
Would you believe this is actually the first movie I ever rented on VHS?
I would believe that, actually. It's old enough, which is kind of sad because we're old. But yeah, I would believe that. Yep. Interesting.
I did see it the weekend it premiered, and we'll talk more about this, but it was, in fact, the first movie I ever rented at my local video store, which was Video Library in Laconia, New Hampshire, back when that was a thing, next to the Laconia Car Wash.
Yep.
In 1980, I'm going to guess probably 85?
Wow. Yeah.
The movie came out in 84?
That's when VHS tapes cost like $99 each.
Yes.
Because I worked at a video store for like 15 years, made Dunstable Video in Nashua and Ann Hollis, and had a good time there for many years. But yeah, I remember that they were very expensive. Yep.
They were back before the sort of major market VHS drops. Like I remember I bought Star Trek 2 at my local supermarket for like $18.99, and that was like exciting. It was like 1988.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, that's pretty good.
What? It's less than $75? What?
Movie must be horrible.
I'm buying this.
Star Trek 2, $18.99.
I know. It's
Can't even get it today for $18.99.
Well, you can if you just want like an online version. You can probably get that for like $10.
That's true.
In 4K, no less.
That's right. But we're talking Star Trek 3 right now, though.
We are. And let's do that after we do a little business with America. Bow. Bow. Well, Dan, as always, we want to take this moment to thank our friends at Fansets for being the presenting sponsor of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network. They work hard every single day to make sure the detail of every pin is spot on. And unlike me working with you, they don't settle for anything less than perfection.
No, they're like the Borg, kind of.
Yeah, look at that.
Anyway, yeah. You're right, though. Absolutely. They've been killing it lately with the Delta pins, I got to say. A couple of weeks ago, the beautiful Admiral Cluster pin from Star Trek 2 came out, and it's so gorgeous. And then the Delta from the motion picture came out in both magnetic and pin versions, which I know, Bill, you just absolutely love. And then they followed that up just a couple of weeks ago with the magnet and pin versions of the Future Imperfect Delta, one of my personal favorite TNG episodes. And today at fansets.com, you can get the Terran Empire Delta in both magnetic and pin version. And I got to say, every Mirror Universe fan has to get these pins. They are beautiful.
Oh, they really are. And I mean, you're right. That TMP Delta is my new favorite, unlike your face, which has never been my favorite.
Wow.
So there.
Thank you.
Everyone else knows what I'm going to say next. Head on over to fansets.com, put all of those Deltas and a bunch of other pins in your cart, and at checkout, be sure to enter the special discount code TrekGeeks for 10% off your entire order. That's TREKGEEKS in all capital letters with no spaces. And of course, don't forget, when you spend more than $30 on fansets.com, you will automatically get free shipping in the United States.
Fansets. Our pins have character, and we thank our friends at Fansets for being the presenting sponsor of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network.
If you haven't checked out the Galaxy's first interactive Tribble from Science Division, then you were really missing out. This officially licensed Tribble is an amazing high-quality Star Trek collectible, which we know you're going to be proud to add to your collection. We both have one, and we truly love our Tribbles. So much work and creativity went into creating this Tribble, right down to the softest fur you can possibly imagine. Plus, I mean, the sounds the Tribble makes are straight out of the original series. You're going to swear this Tribble was delivered straight from Space Station K7 right to your door.
Quadro Triticale is all I got to say. Plus, the Science Division Tribble has its own app that you can use to control the Tribble. It's not necessary, but it is a lot of fun to make it scream at people like, you know what I'm going to say, annoying podcast co-hosts. Fret not, however, because everyone but Bill knows that, you guessed it, that's right, I'm saying it, Tribbles are not dangerous, Bill.
You'd think I'd know that by now.
You would. Should.
So head on over to sciencediv.com right now to pick up one of the Galaxy's first interactive Tribbles for your very own. Plus, while you're there, check out the new and improved shop accessory section where you can get all kinds of Science Division swag. There's some t-shirts, there's mugs, or you can even get the legendary Science Division tote bag.
Science Division. Oh, Trouble's never been this fun. That's two. And we thank our friends at Science Division for sponsoring this week's episode.
I've come a long way for the Tribbles of Genesis.
Three.
Hi, Dr. Phil Phlox, also known as John Billingsley, speaking. I am the president of the board of the Hollywood Food Coalition. We serve terrific multi-course meals to the unhoused and to those in need 7 nights a week. We assist as many as 100 nonprofits with their food needs, buttressing extraordinary social service programs. We work with community partners to address issues of food insecurity here in SoCal. We do lots of other great stuff, but how much time do we have? If you're in LA, come and volunteer with us at hofoco.org/volunteer, and any Federation credits you can spare go a long way.
Well, Daniel, here we are.
Here we are.
Star Trek III, The Search for Spock. The directorial debut, feature film debut of Leonard Nimoy.
Yes.
It is. I remember when that was announced. I mean, we're all kind of grieving the fact that Spock had been killed at the end of Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan.
Oof.
And then we hear, well, he's not going to be in the movie. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But he is going to direct the movie. Do you remember hearing that, like, in advance of the movie? What did that make you think?
I remember him being announced as the director. I don't recall them saying he wasn't going to be in the movie. No, not surprising because, John Harrison wasn't supposed to be Khan, but, so Star Trek has a habit of doing this. No, I do remember him, and it's like, oh my God, so he is going to be in it, kind of, when you think about it. And I think everybody knew that, just the fact that it was going to be called The Search for Spock, that it was going to be bringing him back in somehow. So even though, like you said, even though I don't remember this, I said that he wasn't going to be in it, I think everybody kind of had an idea that he probably was, even though they wouldn't confirm it right away.
Well, that's the plot detail I had spoiled for me by none other than Gene Roddenberry. When I saw him, he was doing a lecture for the Putnam Fund series in Laconia, New Hampshire, at Laconia High School. And, he was talking about Star Trek, and he showed the infamous blooper reel he'd always show. And eventually the topic of Star Trek 3 came up because people had talked about Spock dying at the end of Star Trek 2. And he said, I'll let you in on a little secret. And of course, I'm paraphrasing now because I was, a seventh grader at the time, or I forget, but I was a young kid.
Yep.
He's like, Spock will be back in the next movie. You'll see him in Star Trek 3.
You were probably like...
I was like, what? And of course, the whole room kind of erupted into applause and cheers and stuff like that because, people love Spock, and rightfully so. But I think it was Gene's way of essentially flipping off the powers that be at Paramount and Harv Bennett to say, screw you.
I wish I could do it. I wish I could do a Gene Roddenberry impersonation, because that would have been, and then you will see Spock in Star Trek 3 type of thing.
Yeah, it wasn't far off from that, I'll tell you. So going into it, I knew that Spock was going to be back.
Yep.
So when I saw the movie opening night at the Lakes Region Cinema in Guilford, New Hampshire, tangent. People talk about this sort of special pricing for big blockbusters that occurs now with some movies. That occurred 38 years ago. Jeez. It occurred 40 years ago when I went to go see Empire Strikes Back. I had to pay a premium to go see Empire. I had to pay a premium to see Jedi. I had to pay a premium on opening night to see Star Trek III, The Search for Spock.
Worth it. So it was a small theater. We used to refer to it as the twin cinemas back home because there was only two theaters. And there was the larger one and then the smaller one. And this was in the large one. And as people were exiting, the doors to the theater I could see were open, and I saw the cast, credits crawling up the screen. And it listed the various Spocks. And then I saw Leonard Nimoy's name on the screen, and I just shut my mouth. Because there were people around me in line. Didn't realize. And I didn't want to spoil it. Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't want to go, oh my God, there's Leonard Nimoy. There's Leonard Nimoy. He's in the movie. I didn't want to do that.
Well, you're a good man for that.
So, now I know this is typically a tricky question for you because, one, you're not that bright.
And I don't have a good memory.
You have Swiss cheese memory at best. Do you recall when you saw Star Trek 3?
I don't recall when I saw it. I'm sure I saw it either opening night or very soon after, because that was at a time where I still had not sworn off going to opening nights ever again, because we did that for like Phantom of the Menace, and that was just like ridiculous. And I said I would never go to another one after that.
I'm sorry, for what?
Yeah, exactly.
Phantom of the Menace?
The Phantom Menace, sorry.
You idiot.
Yeah, sorry. See, I'm all excited. But I do remember seeing it, and we're going to talk about this more, but I distinctly remember realizing who Krug was at one particular scene in the movie, which we'll get to later on. And that is the one thing I remember most about that movie. And I enjoyed it. I love the movie. One of the things I love the most, man, and this is small, it's a tiny thing, but the opening scene when Kirk is doing his personal log and we see the Enterprise flying by and it's still got all that battle damage and scarring from Star Trek II. Back then we didn't really think about continuity to that extent, but that was great that you still saw those phaser lines down the side of the secondary hull. I loved that. I thought it was great. And then it went from there. I think it's a great film.
One of the things I really appreciated about it was the way that Leonard chose to open it. The way they flash back to the end of Star Trek 2 and that. I appreciate how the image in our memory got larger and larger and larger until it encompassed the entire screen. But you're right, that captain's log at the beginning, and this is a line I still use every now and then, where Enterprise feels like a house with all the children gone. That one, I even at that age, said a lot to me. It's like, wow, that's a completely different feeling than we've always had with the Enterprise, because she's been crippled, she's barely limping home, and one of our beloved characters is gone. So it's got to feel like one giant wake inside.
And Shatner portrays that really well in that opening scene, not only with his voiceover, but just the way he carries himself. You see that, that weight on his shoulders and the sorrow that he's got and his mourning. And then, of course, we have the whole McCoy thing thrown into it. And how about you? I can remember when he goes into those quarters and it's dark and you hear Leonard's voice, you like say, who, what? It's like, what's going on here? And that puts a whole nother thing in motion. So, they're able to with only a couple of people really show what the entire crew is feeling over this loss. And I think it really sets the tone for the rest of the movie in a great way. And then get your expectations when Sarek shows up and says, oh, here's what we're going to do. And all these other things that come into play later on down the movie.
I have to say that if we're going to play a little game of say something nice with me with this film, because I'm on record as not being the biggest fan of Star Trek 3, I'm going to say it is some of the best acting that William Shatner ever turns in. Yeah. His performance in this movie is unreal. From grieving the loss of his friend to stealing the Enterprise and essentially throwing away his career to investigate what the Admiral calls, Vulcan mysticism, to when David is finally killed on the Genesis planet.
Yeah.
Shatner has never been that raw in Star Trek. He's never been that vulnerable. And I think for me, that's probably some of the best work he's ever done in the franchise.
Missing the chair is something that I'll never forget.
It's
and
beautiful.
The look of, I don't know if pity is the right word, of sorrow that Scotty has when he's just staring down at him. In that scene, not at that exact moment, but yeah, you're absolutely right. His acting is really great in this. His hair looks good in this too, I gotta say. Really
Which hair?
That. Yeah, exactly. The outfits that they all wear. I love the wardrobe in this movie. It all just works. And unlike you, and I mean, you don't hate the movie. I love the movie. I really just enjoy this one a lot. I love the music. The music is fantastic. I already talked about one thing that I will always remember with this movie. Another thing that I always remember, and you just played on it a little bit, is the stealing the Enterprise scene. That is one of the most beautiful scenes in Star Trek motion picture history to me. When you have that giant pullback of the space station with the Enterprise backing out with that music playing, and you see the running lights of the runway for starships. it's just so great. That is a breathtaking moment.
Starships don't use runways?
Huh?
And now, Mr. Scott.
Exactly. Yes.
Sir?
I think that is beautiful. And, people say, oh, the scene with the Starbase and the Enterprise and the Excelsior right behind it is just so great. I think that scene of the space station bay doors open with the Enterprise coming through it takes a cake, because you see the entire Enterprise, which is tiny, compared to this gigantic entire screen encompassing space station.
I love the approach shot for that reason.
Yeah.
Because you get to see the perspective of how tiny the Enterprise is in comparison to this behemoth that we've never seen before.
Which you can get at Eagle Moss, by the way.
Which you can get at Eagle. It's gorgeous, too. I do love that. Although I will say the work that ILM does on the search for Spock is some of the best they've ever done in Star Trek.
Yep.
Everything from the way the Enterprise looks to space dock to the Genesis planet itself, and probably the worst or the most heartbreaking moment of the film, the destruction of the Enterprise. But more about that in a minute.
Yeah.
So you touched on this a little earlier. We're up to 3 now, but you can't really talk about this movie without talking about Christopher Lloyd as the main antagonist.
Yes.
As Krug.
Only Commander.
Only Commander.
Yes. Yep.
I think that in examining why this movie just doesn't work for me as much, or why I don't like it as much as some of the others, is because Christopher Lloyd kind of takes me right out of it. It's not his fault, but there is enough in his delivery that just I am not menaced by it all.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Did you watch Taxi before Star Trek 3? Were you ever a fan of the show?
Yeah, I grew up watching Taxi.
That might be part of the reason, buddy, and here's why I say that. I love Christopher Lloyd in this role. I think he looks fantastic. I think once I realized it was him, he sounds fantastic. I did not watch Taxi growing up. I never liked the show, so I barely ever saw it. So I didn't have that instant, this is Reverend Jim, or whatever thought in my head, which I could totally understand if that took away from the menaceness of Krug. If you are picturing a drunk guy in a taxi company sitting at the table all the time, that could be part of the reason.
Now, I will say that the best scenes he turns in are the ones on the planet with Kirk face to face.
Yes,
because that's entirely believable.
It is 100%. You see the scene where he takes the microbe that's like a big giant slug and kind of crushes it. And that's Of course, the one line, and I'll talk about it now. He's on the planet. We're an hour into the movie when he finally is on the planet with the prisoners, Savick and David and young Spock. And so it's an hour. So we've seen a bunch of lines with him in Klingon and in English, but it isn't until, I come a long way for the power of Genesis, and what do I find? A weakling human, a Vulcan boy, and a woman. And I'm like, oh my God, that's Jim from Taxi. Yeah. That's when I realized it. It took that long.
And that's it. I mean, whenever I talk about Krug, that's the one thing I always quote.
It's a great line.
That's 4, by the way.
That's 4. Yes, we have 4 to go.
Yeah. And anyone wondering why we're counting, we'll have to, just remember that we've kind of gone for the over-under on the number of Reverend Jim impersonations.
Yes.
Or Reverend Krug, depending
Reverend
on...
Krug.
Yeah.
Commander Jim.
I appreciate how they tried to set Krug up as a Klingon to be feared. In fairness to the character, this really is the first Klingon to take uber seriously since Core.
Oh, I absolutely agree. 100%.
And we haven't really had the Klingons in the movies that much. I mean, the beginning of the motion picture,
right? They didn't last long.
It lasted maybe about 3 minutes. So it's really the first time we get an exposure to the Klingons in film, who, by the way, look different than they did in the motion picture. By the way, just throwing that out there.
Wow, why do they keep changing the Klingons, Bill?
I don't know, Dan. But I do appreciate that they tried to set up an antagonist for Kirk that was very much his equal.
Here's why it works, and here's why it doesn't work in my mind.
Okay.
It works because he's great at portraying an evil dude. He has command of his crew. He is willing to sacrifice the woman he loves simply because she saw the Genesis tape at the beginning of the movie. Poor Valkyris. We'll get to Valkyris in a minute. I get a little continuity error that's always bothered me.
Oh, that's always annoyed me.
It's annoyed me a lot. But I think that, some said, did he overdo it in how he acted scenes and stuff like that? I've heard that. You got to think he is a commander. So he doesn't have maybe the clout that other Klingons would. Clout with a K, I will add. And he is the commander of a Klingon bird of prey, which we have not seen before, which only has a crew of 12? Something like that. It's not a big ship, but yet it has the power to do what it did to the Enterprise, only because that was a skeleton crew also. But so there's the effect of he does a great job of being the antagonist, but he has a lot of things against him to be the antagonist. And that's always been one thing that I have pointed to was the fact that he's got a tiny ship when you think of it, and not a lot of crew to really help him back then. When he beamed over the crew to take over the Enterprise, what did they send? 4?
Yeah, right.
So
send everyone we can spare.
Yeah.
Get out.
So yeah.
Anyway, it's really interesting because, and let's talk about this now because you brought it up and my mind's on it. But there are a couple of costume issues. That are notable, and they both involve collars.
Yes.
There's the one that Valkyries, the beginning of the movie, and then Chekhov loses his partway through the movie, so he doesn't look like he stepped out of a French Renaissance painting. I used to refer to him as like, the little Dutch boy or little Lord Fauntleroy in that costume.
Yeah.
But I think there are a couple of just weird continuity errors with costumes there.
Right. The Valkyries one is the one that I always caught first. I'm like, wait a second. We're not seeing, I'm going to say this in a joke, of course. We're not seeing that Klingon cleavage. And I say cleavage with a K also because it's Klingon. They had to, and I think they had to cover it up because of the close camera shots. I think that was back then, the different rating systems that the films had. I think they had to purposely do that. Otherwise they could have maybe gotten into a little trouble because they didn't have PG-13 back then.
That's right. I forgot about that.
So that could have been one of the reasons. And I got to say, it's really a shame. I liked that character of Valkyries. I thought it would have been great to see her more. But unfortunately, of course, we know what happens to her. And did the guy who played the captain of that scuttlebutt ship kind of look like the skipper from Gilligan's Island? Just saying.
See, I always thought he kind of looked like actor Howard De Silva, who was in the film version of 1776 as Ben Franklin.
Oh, geez.
1776 is a favorite of mine. But yeah, just hearing his voice and looking at his face, it was just, it struck me as kind of odd.
But yeah, he and the other guy, the funny thing about the guy that's kind of like sitting next to the captain, if you watch, when things are going on, he kind of knows they're talking in Klingon back and forth to each other. And all he does, he's sitting perfectly still, but you see his eyes darting like left and right all the time. Like, something not good here. Something's going to happen. Let's get out of here. I thought that was pretty funny. Well, and then they died.
Nothing good happens with the Klingons.
Nothing good.
Yeah, it's really weird. You brought up something I never really thought of before. It's that Bird of Prey has such a small complement of Klingons aboard it. But yet in the shot where it's nose to nose with the Enterprise, it looks like it's almost the same size.
Yeah. Yep.
Which looks a little off to me.
It does. It does look a lot. The other thing is back in the day, I think they've cleaned it up, but I always found it interesting whenever you saw those shots of the Enterprise and the Klingon Bird of Prey, you saw the little outline of the frames where the model ship was superimposed into the back shot. And especially the part where I think they were kind of like falling away from each other at one point. You really see that a lot in the old versions. They've cleaned it up a lot, but still credit to ILM because they did a phenomenal job in the special effects. That's something we didn't really see a whole lot. And when the Klingon Bird of Prey was first shown in this first time we ever saw it, then it was all over the place in TNG. I loved it. I thought it looked awesome. I really liked it.
Oh, same here. I love the D7. Don't get me wrong, but this sort of new ship in the Klingon fleet really looked kind of badass, and I'm not ashamed to say that.
It's interesting that it's called Bird of Prey, like the Romulan Bird of Prey, but this one looked like a bird at least. So, and I don't know if it did it in this movie, but didn't the wings like retract in some versions? I don't recall if that's accurate.
I don't think they retracted, but I think that their position
like
changed.
Out. Yeah, okay.
Almost like they would,
flat.
Either
so
flat
through space like this.
Well, they'd either be flat at sort of, zero level, or they tilt down like we normally see them. So,
and that's one good shot that we see in one scene is like a close up of the ship when it's at warp, and it's like from the side hull looking out over the wing, and it really kind of looks pretty cool.
I think they reused that shot on Next Gen about 40 million times. Yeah. So we get a change in Saviks in this film to the person I refer to as my Savik, which is Robin Curtis.
100%.
Who I think is absolutely amazing in the role. Yep.
She's amazing in the role. She's an amazing human being. We've seen her at conventions, and she's just absolutely wonderful and has always loved the reception that she's gotten as Savik. I don't want to jump too far ahead, but I really am sad that she didn't have more of a part in Star Trek 4. But that's for a discussion for another time. But she does a great job in this one, and she has a lot that she needs to chew on with what she has to deal with when she's on the planet.
One of the things that the novelization doesn't really bring out for 2 and 3, or I should say the movie doesn't bring out from the novelization, is that Savik's supposed to be half Romulan.
Yes.
And I think that would have been a really interesting thing to have Robin play off of. Mm-hmm. I think it would have been good for her to experience a little emotion after the death of her mentor. But I mean, we do get some great scenes on the planet with David, where, we kind of learn what David did to make the Genesis planet happen. I think that those scenes are particularly good in this movie, even if some of the other scenes are a little awkward.
Yes, I got to say that for a species, and you're right, they didn't really portray her as being half Romulan. So if we're going to talk to her about being Vulcan, it's great that a species that prides itself on logic and not showing emotion does a really good job of making other people feel guilty for their mistakes.
Right?
How much damage have you done, and what is yet to come, mister?
I know. It's no wonder it took us 100 years to get into space. I mean, the Vulcans were there the whole time nagging us.
Exactly, yeah. Jeez, my God. She must be related to Admiral, what's-his-face from Enterprise.
Forrest?
Yeah, no, the Vulcan.
Oh.
See, both of us had it.
He was an ambassador. It was Saval.
Ambassador, yes, yeah.
He wasn't an admiral.
Right, sorry. I was thinking Admiral Forrest, but yeah, you're right.
So this movie introduces, I don't want to say introduces, but it certainly reinforces the concept of the needs of the one outweigh the needs of the many. So our tried and true Enterprise crew decide it's worth it to throw away their entire career to rescue their friend. And I think that is the central theme of this movie, makes it timeless. I think it makes it beautiful. And I think that it really elevates everybody's performance, quite honestly.
And not one of the crew hesitates.
No, not one.
Captain, we're wasting precious time. What are your orders, Captain? I mean, it just shows not only the dedication that they have to Kirk, but the dedication that they have to this friend, and they're not going to leave him behind. They're going to go get him. They're going to bring him back. This is the perfect family is Trek is family movie, in my opinion.
It really is. I mean, it's the perfect complement to what happened in Star Trek II. Mm-hmm. It's the first time we've had a sequel that follows the events of the movie before it in the Star Trek world, because 2 didn't follow 1 really kind of at all.
Right.
It's its own standalone thing, but this kind of starts off a little mini trilogy, and this middle act, as far as middle acts go, is actually pretty good. Yeah, I'm a big fan of middle acts. Like Empire Strikes Back is my favorite Star Wars movie. But Search for Spock sets a lot of stuff in motion for 4 that I think is really important. So our crew has to, and I hate saying this because it kills me, they have to destroy the Enterprise to survive. This was something they put in the trailer.
I don't remember that in the trailer.
Oh,
I must have not seen the trailer.
John Krikorian and I talk about it constantly. It was in the trailer. You see the Enterprise just explode.
Oh, God, I'm glad I don't think I saw the trailer then.
And at that point, I was heartbroken because, as we've talked about many, many times, that Enterprise was my boyhood ship of dreams. And I actually was more affected by the destruction of the Enterprise than I was by Spock dying in the previous film.
I can totally appreciate that. And one of the things I found more painful about the destruction of the Enterprise, sure, we saw, first of all, it was self-done. I mean, Kirk did it himself. And I love how they brought the same codes in from Let That Be Your Last Battlefield. I thought that was fantastic. Good continuity there. But after the ship explodes, when they show the close-up of the hull and you can see the metal literally dissolving as it's that was amazing. I thought that was just one of the best special effects of the whole movie. And then of course the whole, explosion of the, it's one thing they see the explosion of certain parts of the ship, but when that saucer section goes, that's the one that hurts. That hurts the most. More than the burning in the atmosphere, I think.
Yeah, no, I have to agree with you because it looks like it just shatters and explodes at the same time.
Yep.
Yeah, and then there's the dialogue, The Planet, where Kirk is like, what have I done?
Yeah.
It's like, it's funny because he didn't have that feeling with, regard to throwing away his admiral's bars. Didn't have that feeling with regard to stealing the Enterprise.
Yeah.
Didn't have that regard to knowing that everybody around him has just lost their career in Starfleet.
The ship.
It took the destruction of the ship, the thing that he felt the most connection to in the series. And all of a sudden he realizes, I've had to sacrifice this thing I've loved for my friend. And
they didn't even know if he was there yet.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it could have all been 100% for nothing. Of course, they're going to try to save the people on the planet and everything, and that's all well and good. But yeah, this could, they could have gotten there, and not only was David gone. Well, actually, I'm sorry. They did know that he was alive because they said a young Vulcan with whom you were acquainted. So,
that's right.
That's true. So they did know. But when they got to the campsite, they could have all been dead at that point. They didn't know. I'm a pessimist.
The computer is the only thing talking.
Talking? Let me hear. 5.
Well, then you got to follow it up with his best line.
Oh!
Get out of there! We'll call that 6 and 7.
This is fun.
I think you're going to hit the over-under, no problem. It's. I want to go back for a minute and talk about the Excelsior.
That bucket of bolts.
She's the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, they say she can make the Kessel Run in under 12 parsecs.
Huh.
No. So, do you remember all the conjecture that occurred after this movie that Kirk and company were going to get command of the Excelsior?
Yep.
I got to tell you, I was pissed about that. I was like, he can't command the Excelsior. He commands the Enterprise.
Not only that, the Enterprise is, I'm not even a fan of these cars. The Enterprise is a Lamborghini. It's a Ferrari. It's a Porsche. The Excelsior is a freaking minivan. it's a big, bulky tank.
It's a Ford Aerostar. There's one for you, Robert Reyes.
Yeah. And it's great that we see it later on in Star Trek 6 and everything. But when we first see this one, it's just kind of like a big, giant metal thing.
It looks like a blob.
I don't care for it.
So here's the thing. And I know there are people who love their ships. They love various classes of ships. There are people who love this Excelsior design.
Mm-hmm.
I am not one of them. I've never liked it. I don't think it... Let me step back. The thing I love about the TMP refit of the Enterprise is it looks gorgeous from any angle you photograph it from.
Yes.
Any way you light it, that ship looks like the hero of the day. That's not true of the Excelsior. It's unsightly in many angles, and it looks way too giant.
It looks way too giant, and you think speed, you think something, nice and sleek and sexy, like Discovery. Discovery can go pretty fast, and the Enterprise can go fast. This is supposed to have transwarp drive, which is supposed to be the fastest of the fast, and you're doing it in a Sherman tank.
You're doing it in a cruise ship.
Yeah. Cruise ship. Perfect analogy, man. That is absolutely perfect.
Yeah, it's the Love Boat.
And the captain's kind of
Hey, in my head canon, the Styles that's captain of the Excelsior is the same Styles, even though it's not.
Yeah.
But in my head canon, he will be, because I think that would have been more interesting.
If I'm a captain of a starship, I want 2 things. I want one of those sticks that he carries around so I can hit people on the head when I'm walking by, and I want a nail file. so I can be, this is a captain. What do you have in a red alert in space dock?
He was finally manicured, wasn't he?
He was. He had a nice mustache.
And I don't know if that stick was supposed to be a riding crop. Or
I think it was.
A futuristic version of one.
I think it's a riding crop. Yep, absolutely.
Somebody who knows more about horses will have to school us.
Exactly. Maybe William Shatner gave it to him. He likes horses.
Yeah, probably not.
Okay.
Probably not.
We should ask him that when we get him on the show. Sorry.
He doesn't do podcasts, remember?
I understand that.
Except for all the podcasts he's done. Did I say that out loud?
No, I didn't hear anything.
So, do you have a favorite moment in the entire film?
I think I have 2, and unfortunately they're not characters, and I talked about both of them. Is the Enterprise coming out of space dock it is a heartbeat faster emotion, like frenzy when that happens. And as sad as it is, the destruction of the Enterprise, as gut wrenching as it is, it's a favorite moment because it is done so well and looks so good. I think it's great. I absolutely love it. And here's one thing that this may shock some people, and some people may not like this. I'm going to talk about my least favorite for a second, and unless you want to save that for another
go ahead.
segment.
Go ahead.
My least favorite are watching Spock age quickly. It just doesn't seem right to me, especially when you actually start seeing his face, it's like an American Werewolf in London scene with the bubbles under the makeup and everything. And I don't care for the Vulcan scenes until he's awake.
Okay.
Even the Sarek scene on Vulcan, I'm just kind of you know, and you got Talar and everybody there. That it just kind of seems anticlimactic for me when they get to Vulcan.
I think that I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back and talk about the scene I like the most, and then I'll talk about my overall issue with the movie. I think the scene I like the most is actually the fight between Kirk and Krug, because we get what we didn't get in Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. Mm-hmm. Kirk and Khan were never in the same room.
Right.
You know, there was never that conflict, that sort of fight that had to occur. Shut up. Just, there was never that face-to-face meeting.
Right.
That I think Khan would have wanted as part of his revenge.
Absolutely.
Plus, I mean, Kirk, it's the starship combat is great. Don't get me wrong. But in this movie, Kirk has to fight for his life and Spock's life.
Yep.
And I think that particular aspect of this film is done exceedingly well, to the point where when Kirk finally wins and does the, I have had enough of you, I think that is just the perfect way to punctuate the fact that he saved both him and Spock.
True. And the villain dies by falling, like a lot of Disney movies do.
Yeah, although at the time that didn't look as good.
It didn't look too good. One of the things I did like about that scene, and you're right, that's a great scene. The fight is good. And Shatner, even in the days of TOS, the Shatner fight scenes, whether they were him or his stuntman, were always pretty fun to watch. But here you got parts of the planet, like all of a sudden a rock just shoots up out of the ground and sends you.
Yeah.
One of the best scenes of the fight scene is when Kirk decides he's just going to scream and jump at the guy. He's like, ah! It just like tackles him. It works. It's Shatner. It's Kirk, and I thought it worked. I thought it worked really well.
How Kirk didn't wind up with a concussion from having his head slammed into a rock about 12 times, I don't know.
Yep, absolutely. One thing about that, before we go further, is it's not of that fight scene, but it's right beforehand. The phaser stun effect on the Klingon on the planet is awesome. I've always loved how they've done that. I thought it was pretty cool.
So I have to say that I think overall my problem with this film is largely pacing.
Okay.
You talked about the Vulcan scenes later. That is an entire segment of the film where nothing happens.
Yep.
There's a lot of camera angles. There's a lot of music. I find that aspect to be more boring than some of the scenes in Star Trek: The Motion Picture, where the Enterprise is just doing flybys forever.
Right. Yeah.
There's not a lot of dialogue. There's not a lot of action. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of hoping and worrying and waiting. Yep. And it doesn't really work. And now I'm getting accosted by a loving pit car.
It's interesting you say that. I also feel that in addition to that, because you're 100% on every aspect of what happens in Vulcan, I also have to say I'm not a fan, and I think it's kind of a wasted time. It could have been much shorter. The whole Ponfar thing. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of that either. I don't care for it all that much. I don't think it's awesomely acted, even with Robin there. I didn't like it. I didn't like that part.
It's a great nod to the fans.
It is. Yeah.
It is a great, callback to the original series.
Right.
But you're right. It doesn't need to be in there.
Right. And as we all know now from watching Strange New World, they should have kissed anyway, because that's what Vulcans do, apparently, right?
Oh, stop it. We're going to be positive.
I kid. Oh, I'm. Believe me, I think it's fantastic. I'm not.
I do
being
too.
A wise guy.
I do too. Yeah. So the pacing really is what affects me with this film.
Okay.
Because I almost feel like it's three different movies. There's the stealing the Enterprise part. Mm-hmm. There's the survival on the Genesis planet part for Saavik and David and the Spockling.
Yep.
Spockling. And then there's the rest of it. Mm-hmm. And the three have very different structure, very different pacing. I feel like the stealing the Enterprise part goes very fast. It's, it pops. It's bang, bang, bang.
Which is great.
The stuff on the Genesis planet with Saavik and David and Spock is a little more considered. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of dialogue. There's a lot of exposition. There's a lot of explanation as to why things are the way they are. And then after you get the big, let's rescue everybody and get off the planet, reading Klingons hard, you get to Vulcan and it's just, like you said, so anticlimactic. So it starts off at a high peak and then just continually slides into slowness.
Yes.
And I feel like it's the opposite of what the Wrath of Khan did.
Oh, I've never really actually thought. Yep.
Started
Absolutely.
slow, ramped up.
Yep.
By the time you get to the end and the big boom, you're like, whoa.
Right. True. That being said, I don't think you could have any of those completely taken out of the movie for the movie to succeed. You have to have those parts, and they could have condensed some scenes. I'll tell you, we talked about it a little bit. We talked about how painful it is for the destruction of the Enterprise, but what 4 words do you think are probably the most powerful 4 words of this entire movie in terms of like gut-wrenching?
Well, for me, there's 7 words. It's "you Klingon bastards, you killed my son."
That's a good one. But prior to that, Admiral, David is dead. That is just like an oh my god moment there. Yeah, I mean we saw it, but Kirk is just sitting there waiting. What's going on? What's going on? And then the Vulcan way, boom. Oh, Admiral David's dead. That's just like oh.
And David jumps on the grenade. I mean, really.
He does.
Because otherwise, it's probably going to be Saavik.
It was going to be Saavik. He was gonna take out the woman. That's what you could see it. He was raising his knife up to kill her, stab her in the back, and he stepped in and ended up dying for it. He sacrificed himself.
He did.
Yep.
And there's no way he was going to beat that Klingon.
Absolutely.
He knew it. He knew it.
Yep.
And that's why he did it anyway.
Absolutely.
And how that levels Kirk levels me every single time.
Oh yeah, like I said, the falling down and missing the chair. Very cool captain's chair, by the way, in Star Trek 3. I kind of dig it. I like how it's kind of like, it's got kind of like a nice cloth on. It's got those like little lines behind it going out like a sunburst.
As long as it's not the version from the Grissom, which is pink.
Ooh.
Have you ever noticed that? The upholstery on the
JT
Grissom
Esteban
looks
likes his pink chairs, I guess. I don't know.
I remember seeing that the first time, like, going, is that pink?
I'm gonna have to go back and look at that. Actually,
that's the way it always looked to me when I saw it in the theater, and on home video, it didn't look much better.
Grissom's kind of cool looking ship. Didn't last.
See, no, I've never thought that about the Oberth class.
I think the captain was an idiot, but I thought that it was kind of neat looking. It was like a V, like a V ship.
He seemed like he was almost like the commander of the Enterprise B. John Harriman.
like a captain is around a planet. A Klingon ship decloaks and is coming fast at them, and all he says is, "Oh my god." Nice captaincy you got there, pal.
Well, people can make the argument that Grissom is supposed to be a science vessel.
He's still a captain.
Aren't they all science vessels? Let's be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what we haven't talked about?
No.
Is the amazing performance by DeForest Kelley.
Yeah.
He's so good in this.
He is. I still maintain it's not the best work he does in the franchise.
It's not, but it's just he's playing 2 characters for a while. And he's got some very emotional scenes, but he's also got some humor scenes, like at the bar. I just think I thought he did a good job.
Oh, he absolutely did. I mean, he and Scotty get the light moments in this movie for sure.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
I still get into an elevator. I still go, level, please.
Transport room. Go ahead and say it. You want to say it?
No, I'm gonna finish Scotty's line. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
I still do that, or I'll get into an elevator and go bridge. But that's just because that's what I do.
Just the way you are.
Yeah. So it's like we said. I don't hate the movie. Mm-hmm. It's probably my least favorite of the trilogy, but I think that's true for a lot of people. Because you got 2, you got 4, and then there's 3 in the middle.
I don't know, man. If I had to rate them, 2 obviously is the first one. I love them both. I love 3 and 4. I don't know. I might put 3 above 4, but I know that's blasphemy to some people because 4 is so good. It saved the whales and this, that, and the other thing. But I just love so many aspects of Star Trek 3 where, Star Trek 4 is another one. Oh my God, if we don't do this, all humanity is going to be destroyed. It's a discovery complex in Star Trek 4 when you think about it. But I love Star Trek 3. I really love it a lot.
Really? That much?
Yeah. Yeah, I really do. I mean, I love Star Trek 4. Don't get me wrong. It's some people's favorite Trek movie of all.
It is.
But there's so many things I love about Star Trek 3. I mean, we haven't even talked about, some of the great scenes with Uhura and Sulu and everybody else. It's just, and of course we get Spock back at the end, and we get the Vulcan eyebrow lift at the end, and all that good stuff. It's a comfort food movie for me.
I can see where that last scene is especially comfort food. I understand that. People can't see it, but Dan just pointed at his noggin like McCoy does. And unfortunately, in Dan's brain, there's really nothing there.
Nothing. It was a big echo chamber that just was like gong, gong.
Oh, the two brain cells you have left are competing.
Well, one now.
Yeah. One of them's going to win out. And I think it's the dumb one.
Oh, well, you can't be talking like that. I had to get the 8th one in before we wrap it up. So
there's 8. There's 8. Great job.
Boom.
Great job. The home office is going to be proud of you. Those scenes at the end, because it's about closing the circle of that friendship. Mm-hmm. You know, they've got Spock back. Who knows what it's going to mean? Because I mean, it's been a while since somebody's done this.
Yeah.
But for now, I mean, they've done what they set out to do, and I think that's really the most important thing. Mm-hmm. And then it leaves you with the question: well, what happens next?
Yes.
And I kind of like how they leave Star Trek 3 at that point. Mm-hmm. You really don't know,
right? For all in all seriousness, for all intents and purposes, that could have been the last Star Trek movie. They find him, they bring him back, he's alive. The end. It seriously could have been the last one. And then of course, we have a continuation where they go down to Home Depot and get a bucket of paint and paint HMS Bounty on the side of the hull. I don't know.
Yeah, that brings up a great question for next time or some other time. Where do Vulcans get buckets of orange paint? Anybody?
I just don't know.
Or whatever color that was.
Maybe it was left over from Mount Saleya where they paint those statues that are like red.
Oh, good.
I don't know. Could be.
The squeaking you hear in the background is Isabella, by the way.
That's a good dog.
That's all staying in.
Absolutely. Of course
it's all staying in.
Yeah.
We're very dog friendly here on the Trek Geeks podcast.
Absolutely. Always will be.
Really, there's not, for as much as I criticize Christopher Lloyd's performance in this movie, there are no bad performances in this movie.
Even Larroquette does a good job.
Well, but you don't even know he's John Larroquette.
I didn't know it was him for a long time.
Well, at that point, he wasn't even John Larroquette. I mean,
exactly.
People didn't know who he was until Night Court.
Right.
But there really are no bad performances in this movie.
No, there really aren't. Everybody does a great job. And I do have to disagree with you in a friendly way. I love Christopher Lloyd's performance in this. I really do. I think it's one of the things I admire most about this movie is we get somebody who you don't expect to play somebody like him, play him. And like I said, I think the whole Reverend Jim thing might have something to do with that because I probably never watched one full episode of Taxi in my life ever. Yeah. So
I freely concede that it's got everything to do with it.
Yeah.
Because it takes me right out of it.
Could you imagine what would have happened if Star Trek 3 came out after Back to the Future?
No.
Yeah. I would have had a problem with that.
Well, no, see, I think it would have been easier to take because Doc Brown is a little more less Reverend Jim, honestly.
Okay. That's a good point. Yep.
I think it would have made more sense because at that point we'd seen him do something else.
Yeah.
At that point, all anyone really knew him for was Taxi.
Exactly. That's true.
Now, in hindsight, that's not to say, like I said, it's not that he gives a bad performance because he doesn't. He owns the screen when he's on it. Mm-hmm. Let's be honest.
Yep.
It's just that I get taken right out of it when I hear that voice.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's really what does it for me. I have a hard time taking Krug seriously as a result.
Yeah. Speaking of dog friendly here on Trek Geeks, I love his little dog. Targ or whatever it was then. I don't know if it was a Targ. It looked like a lizard monster creature thingy.
The look that Klingon guy gives when he's told to feed him.
Look, quit.
Just the look on the guy's face like, you say what? You want me to do what now?
Yep. Yes. And I got to be on the bridge of the Klingon bird of prey from Star Trek 3, kind of, when I went out to Universal Studios Hollywood years and years and years ago when they had the Star Trek experience thing. I played the Klingon captain, and I got to sit on that bridge, which was based on the bridge from Star Trek 3.
And you don't have the tape.
And the tape is gone.
Oh, that's so sad.
Yep. But part of, a lot of it was not me because a couple of the sets were broken, so they used old footage when they put it together. But I got to be in the bridge. I got to disintegrate the guy just like he did in Star Trek 3, just like Krug did. Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Like what I dream of doing to you every day.
I knew that was coming. I walked right into that one.
It's, I'm a firm believer that, Star Trek 3 is worth watching. I mean, if it's on, I'm going to watch it.
Yep.
It's not Generations, for God's sake. But if you're going to have yourself a little movie marathon and you watch 2, 3, and 4 back to back to back,
Yeah.
I think you're going to have a pretty good afternoon. Because I think it tells a really good story. I think it tells a complete story, like you said. And I think that it is a great middle act as far as that trilogy goes.
It really is. And when you look at it that way, I think it adds more to it because it has to bridge one of, if not the best Star Trek movie of all time to what many consider to be their favorite, Star Trek of the original cast 6 films.
Well, it has the unenviable task of being, sort of the downshift between the two movies.
Right.
And it's not a good place to be in. I mean, especially when you consider what people think of as the odd numbered curse of Star Trek films.
True.
That's
true.
1, people are generally soured on.
Love it.
2 people love. 3,
Yep. Love.
a lot of people are met over.
Mm-hmm.
4, universal, adoration for that movie. 5,
Suck.
Yes, it does. Dan, so concludes our discussion on Star Trek: The Search for Spock. It almost makes me want to watch it again.
That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm here for that.
You know what else I'm here for, Dan?
Oh, I think I know.
Our friends, the band 5 Year Mission. Every last bit of music you hear on the Trek Geeks podcast, they have a podcast on the Trek Geeks podcast network called, wait for it, 5 Year Mission.
Wow.
I know.
It's pretty brilliant.
The marketing department at Coconut Media Works spared no expense. They secured the name in no time, and they are able to use it today. It's really kind of a tear-jerking story.
It's you're an amazing human being. You know that?
Not me. It's the marketing department.
Oh.
We got to give them a raise. But, go get all their albums, 5yearmission.net. Become a huge fan of this band and get that physical media in your hand because you're going to want it, honestly.
Important.
Don't rely on Spotify or Amazon Music. I mean, you can listen to them there, but you want the discs. You want to, get the hard work that the artist put into it, get that right in your hands and pop that into your CD player. So 5yearmission.net, go get all their albums.
And you could, one of the old CD Walkmans that you used to have back in the day, you could clip it on your belt, put the CD in there and go walking down the street listening to some 5 Year Mission. I had one of those, literally.
I'm not surprised.
I'm not surprised either. Anyway, I love 5 Year Missions very much. And Isabella probably does as well. I know. Right? We talked about this a little bit. We've heard 3 amazing opening voiceovers in Star Trek, buddy. We've heard Shatner. We've heard Stewart. And I forgot, we actually have Nimoy too, because he does it in the movies. But now we have Anson Mount doing this amazing opening voiceover. The words are forever ingrained in our minds, my friend, and we can only hope that the next iteration of the famous words goes something like this. Space. The final Fark tier.
Oh, God.
These are the voyages of the Flagship Enterprise. Its Fark Year mission, to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no Fark has gone before. That's all I got. But do you need anything else?
I need a drink after that. That was horrific.
Well, there was a lot of Farks in there. I understand that. I know somebody might be a little hard to take that many like you.
That nauseated me. To the point where I think I need to use the facilities.
Okay. Well, the good thing is, it's kind of like an earworm, so it's going to be in your head the rest of the day. I might even say it to you at the gym later. Just saying.
It's not going to be in my ear at the gym, and you come anywhere near me, I'm going to smack you with a kettlebell.
Wow. Harsh.
Probably only a 10 because I'm still getting back into it. But don't be surprised if the 16 comes flying by your head.
Zoom.
Yeah, that's kilograms, by the way.
Yes, exactly is. Yeah.
5yearmission.net. Go get all their albums. Mm-hmm. Seriously, do it
now.
Get to the chopper.
What the heck was that?
Get to the chopper, Marty.
There you go. I was waiting for you to do one.
Don't forget, you too can support the Trek Geeks Podcast Network by subscribing to us on Patreon, where Dan, you can get like raw audio. You can I know, right?
I know.
You can talk with other patrons on our Discord server.
Mm-hmm.
You can do a whole bunch of other things. Perks are coming, but Dan, there's a whole bunch of people we want to thank.
Oh my God, there's so many people. Discord. I should probably get on Discord every once in a while too.
Yeah, you really should.
Think of it. I'm hit or miss on that one. I know. I got a lot of work to do. We have tons of people. We have so many people that we want to thank. Right now, I'm going to thank our associate producers for Trek Geeks because, as usual, we are always so grateful for their support. So thank you very much, Vikram Bhatt, Brad DeMag, William Edward M. Jr., Patrick Escudero, Andy Fark, Kimberly Francis, Jonathan Hamilton, Peter Hong, William Jackson, Ryan Jeffs, John Krikorian, Sean Lynn, Rick Mason, Jamie McGregor, Ross McKinney, Aaron Mollenkoff, Casey Pettit, Helen Reed, Sarah Rutlinger, Tim Robertson, Desi Rogers, Greg Rozier, Eric Sakian, Adam Sanders, Tim Serdar, Heather Sohn, Blake Strike, Rick Tatro, Lisa Tomlinson, Ron Robel, and the gracious and wonderful Connie Hutchins.
That was pretty good.
That's 9, so 10 actually, because you did
10. 9 if we count yours, 10 if mine. Yours were good. Mine barely passed, really. We also want to thank our Trek Geeks producers for their support. They are Mike Bovia, Steve Bovia, Chaz Bradshaw, Kyle Castillo, Peter Craig, Andy Davenport, Craig Ewing, Jackie and Chris Hackney, Kimberly Hartman, David Hood, Lionel Marchand, Matt McGonigal, Jim McMahon, Darren Metcalf, Charlie Mulvey, Sean O'Halloran, Jamie Rogers, Major Self, Casey Shafsky, Terry Shull, Jim Stoffel, Chris Tribuzio, Ken Tripp, Christina Werther, who is on time, actually. It's happened. Right. It's finally happened. She's been on time.
Where?
At the thing. And the lovely and talented Jess Vashon. Dan, the senior producer of Trek Geeks, is the constantly comical Jude Tatman.
He's a funny dude. Yeah, you too can become a producer on the Trek Geeks Podcast Network, and it is so easy to do. Head on over to patreon.com/TrekGeeks for all the details.
Dan, the next time we gather here on Ye Olde Flagship, we're going to have a somewhat serious conversation about a topic I wrote about recently on TrekNews.net.
Yeah, absolutely we are, my friend. An excellent article, by the way. Very, very well written. We both love Discovery, and as season 4 is all wrapped up and we look forward to season 5, we're going to sit down and take a look at some of the things that we feel may be hindering Discovery as it gets into its later seasons, and Bill's thoughts and recommendations on how to fix it. It's the problem with Discovery, and it's next time on Trek Geeks, the flagship of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network.
Now, before people react to the title, let's just unpack this just a tiny bit. Absolutely. This is not about hatred of Discovery.
Nope.
As I found online, people saw the headline and assumed that I was just going to hate on the show. We're not going to hate on the show. We love Discovery, you and I. We are big fans. We have watched every season. We have rewatched every season. We'll continue to be champions of the show, especially on Discovering Trek, the Star Trek Discovery companion. But crisis fatigue is a real thing, and I think that it's something that needs to be talked about, and that's kind of what drove the article.
And here's the difference. We're going to talk about it in a logical, respectful way, instead of just bashing it and saying it's not real Trek or it's Kurtzman Trek or any of the other crap that we hear on social media, which is toxic. It is going to be a conversation that we're going to enjoy. It's going to be a conversation that will have thoughtful discussion. And like you said, we love Discovery. We will always love Discovery. And I'm looking forward to the chat.
Constructive is really the goal I set for that particular article. And that's what our discussion will be in a couple of weeks on the flagship. Dan, of course, for more great Star Trek discussion, we want everyone to check out the other member podcasts here on the Trek Geeks Podcast Network. So many fantastic and wonderful shows by people we adore that all just want to celebrate Star Trek and Gene's vision. You can find all our podcasts on the free Trek Geeks mobile app. That's free, FREE, no spaces. Or you can get a link to your favorite podcast player by visiting trekgeeks.com/listen.
The Trek Geeks Podcast Network. No one talks Trek like we do.
Not a one of them. And of course, for all the news on all the Star Trek CO, please visit our great friends at treknews.net. For now, this has been episode number 283 of the Trek Geeks Podcast. We do hope you all live long and prosper.
I've come a long way for the power of coconut, and what do I find? A wonderful bride, a lovely dog, and Bill.
That's the best one you've ever done. You son of a...
Music for Trek Geeks is provided by 5 Year Mission. They're writing an original song for each episode of Star Trek. Hear more of their music at 5yearmission.net. Trek Geeks is a production of Coconut Media Works. Executive producers Bill Smith and Dan Davidson. For more great Star Trek discussion, discover the other shows of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network at trekgeeks.com or find us in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app.
Bing bong.
I put my pants on.
Excuse me?
Sorry, Men in Black 3 line. Hi, bing bong.
I'm never going to watch that movie.
It's so good. It's the best of the 3, dude.
Dude, no, it
It
can't
is.
be.
Well, 2 is horrible. So you got a 50-50 chance. And I think it's better than the first one. Of course, the 4th one's not too good either, but I haven't seen all of that.
Wait. There's a 4?
Yeah, it was Men in Black International with Hemsworth and the girl who plays Valkyrie in the Avengers movies. They team up as Men in Black people over in London or somewhere.
Oh, Tessa Thompson?
Yeah. And what I've seen, and what's his name? I will find you and I will kill you. He's in it too, but I can't think of his name off the top of my head. From the Taken movies.
Oh, Liam Neeson.
Thank you.
Mean Qui-Gon Jinn from
Yes.
Star Wars?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I think he's the bad guy.
Yeah, Slow Jin Fizz.
Yeah. So yeah, that one's not great, but 3 is absolutely phenomenal. I love that one.
Is that the one with Josh Brolin?
Yeah, Thanos is in it.
Oh,
He is so good because it's a time travel movie and he plays young Tommy Lee Jones and he is perfect as him. He is so good. I'm telling you right now, you got to watch Men in Black. Ladies and gentlemen listening, please let Bill know that he should watch Men in Black 3 starring Will Smith and Will Smith, not this Will Smith.
I can assure you that's not happening.
And Tommy Lee Jones and Josh Brolin.
No.
And the guy who plays the villain kind of reminds me of what's the guy the wrestler? Ooh yeah, that guy. Who's that?
Randy Macho Man Savage.
He reminds me of him a lot.
Or Macho Man Randy Savage.
Macho Man. Yep.
Yeah.
Rest in peace. Down the side.
Bonesaw.
Yes. Snap it to a Slim Jim.
Although unfortunately he's since passed away.
Yes, he has. Yep.
Now I have to look up who the villain is.
I can't remember. But Nicole Scherzinger has a cameo at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah,
from Masked Singer.
And the Pussycat Dolls.
And the Pussycat Dolls, of course.
Know.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's very good. It's a good film. I like it. He's checking right now. He's doing his IMDb, I think, probably. IMDb?
Do you mean Jermaine Clement from Flight of the Conchords?
I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen him in anything that I recall. Of course, he looks really strange in this because he's an alien. He's a Bogladite. That's what I said. I don't see that in Star Trek.
No, you're just troglodyte.
Yeah, exactly.
You're a troglodyte.
Wow.
Idiot.
Wow, my goodness. Well, maybe I'll just jump out of the castle in the clouds and then you'll be sad.
Oh, that would be amazing.
I said it.
Although Castle in the Clouds around here has a much different connotation.
It does.
In New Hampshire. But
yep.
Yeah, if you were to jump from Stratos, I think I would be so excited.
Wow, that's harsh.
Is it?
Yeah, a little bit.
No.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess we'll have to just wait and see. Next time I get to Stratos, I'll let you know.
Yeah, why don't you do that, please?
Wow. Anyway,
Please.
So did you have a good weekend?
So I was off for 6 days.
Yeah,
counting
you
the
were.
weekend and the holiday.
Yeah.
I wish I could still be off.
Yeah. Yep. That's true. I wish the same.
Isabella has spent. They've been digging up our neighborhood, laying fiber for fiber internet.
Okay.
And all the power lines in my neighborhood are underground, so, everything has to be underground.
Yep.
And, of course, it's been noisy as all get out, so Isabella has not liked it at all. She's been very fearful of it and shaking. So we've spent a lot of time in those days just sort of, trying to make her feel better and just, to puppy care, as I like to call it. But it was a rough weekend. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
And then thunderstorms we've discovered she doesn't really like.
That does not surprise me at all.
No.
Yeah.
She's 7. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it's entirely possible that she's had some kind of noise reactivity for a while. She also doesn't like car doors, horns, or
People named Bill.
No, she loves me. Or big trucks, school buses.
Yes. It could also be the vibrations associated with it too, maybe.
Also, motorcycles. Those things are evil in her world.
Yes.
There's a guy on our street who, I get it, all right, loud pipes save lives, blah, blah, blah.
Oh.
But his pipes are, I don't know how the guy isn't deaf, because that's how loud the pipes are. They shake the house.
There's no reason to have them. The whole save lives thing is bogus in my mind. You don't need them that loud.
I can appreciate that on some level. It does help other motorists hear you if they can't see you. Understand. However, when they're that loud that they shake my home,
That's dumb.
That's egregious. Now, egregious is a word that means just way too much, Dan.
Thank you. I was about to ask you the what? A gracious? What?
Egregious.
Egregious. Isn't that a bird? Oh, no, that's an
No.
egret. Sorry.
You are so, jeez.
I've missed you, man. I just don't know how I can come up with this stuff that fast.
Have you missed me?
I have. It's been a long road. So
You're forbidden.
If you could see his face every time I do that, it's.
I remind you that you're forbidden from saying that on the show.
I didn't finish it.
Doesn't matter. You are forbidden from quoting any of the lyrics on the show. Coconut is your thing, not The Voice.
The Voice. I've never
The name of the
watched
guy.
that.
That was the nickname of the guy who sang the song for the show.
Was it? That's
yes,
dumb.
Russell Watson. He was
Okay.
known as The Voice.
Okay, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't appreciate that.
Appreciate
But
what?
I appreciate the line, which is why I use it all the time, just because to get that look. You've never seen anybody's face go from smiling and happy to completely just like he's like an elevator and his head just went down and just it's just crazy.
I get that there are people who love the song. I understand. You like it. That's great. But it's not. It wasn't even written for Star Trek.
I'll tell you what, Archer's theme should have 100% been the theme for Enterprise.
I agree 100%.
Absolutely. That is a beautiful, beautiful theme. And when they did it on Discovery, it was phenomenal.
I could not agree with that statement more.
Yeah.
I think that it would have been an amazing series theme. Of course, now the people are going to be, why do you hate this? It's not a great song. Diane Warren, who has written that song, as well as many other #1 songs. I don't want to say she mailed it in on that one, but it's not great. It's not a good song.
It doesn't really fit with Star Trek itself. I mean, I don't hate the song either, and it is the theme for Enterprise, so it's something I'll always appreciate, but yeah.
I guarantee you I will always skip the opening credits of Enterprise, or I'll mute one of the two.
It's funny that we're on that subject, even though we're still in the outtake. Every time, for years, whenever we see the opening of Enterprise, there's this one ship that they would always show, and I'm like, I've never seen it. And it's the back of the ship, and you can see like the engines, and I'm like, what the heck? What is that? We've never seen that anywhere. And they finally showed it in Picard season 2. It was the one that was hanging up in the rafters when Picard was talking to the girl. I don't want to give spoilers away, so I'm not saying anything else, but they finally showed it, and then and then all the articles reference that it was finally seen for the first time.
The girl.
Hey, people might not have seen it.
Hold on. The woman.
Oh, yes, but I apologize. The woman. Yes, the woman. Yeah.
The astronaut type woman.
The astronaut type woman. Don't say anything else, Bill.
This doesn't give anything away.
You just gave away that she's an astronaut.
Yeah, but you don't know how she relates to the plot. There's nothing to give away there.
But she's an astronaut.
Your face is an astronaut.
So yes. Anyway.
Actually, I could leave off the tronaut and your face would be that.
Wow. It took me a second. It did take me an astro? Then, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, then. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So we're prepping for Vegas, buddy.
We are. I placed an order today. You placed an order today. It's happening. It's happening, yo.
I'm so giddy. Let me look at my official countdown. We have 83 days till we land on site.
Yep. 83 days. Yeah, we ordered some swag to give away at our table in the vendor's room, and it's going to be pretty nice, not going to lie.
Party's all set up.
Party is set.
I got to say, I love the Star Trek fans who go to Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
I really genuinely do. And this is not hyperbole. I'm not being sarcastic. I love the people who go to the Fan Geeks party. So we put 200 tickets available online. As we've said before, we do this to help comply with fire code. We can only have so many bodies in the room.
Yeah.
And this helps us control the number of bodies. The tickets are always free. We never charge for them. 200 of them went up unavailable on Eventbrite a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
They were all gone.
Gone.
In 6 hours.
Gone.
200 tickets spoken for. We asked Trekkies to show up and to get their tickets. And you know what they did? They didn't let us down. They're showing up and they're getting the tickets. So there will be a smaller ticket availability in Vegas. Details on that yet to be announced. But dude, this party is going to be insane. More people than we've ever had before.
Yeah. It's going to be awesome. And I think one of the rules, if we do have this, we will have the small amount of tickets in Vegas. One of the rules is you have to come up and say, Dan is the better of the Trek Geeks. And then you'll probably get a ticket. We haven't decided if that's going to be, final or not, but you look surprised. I'm a little concerned.
If they come up and say, Dan is a friggin' jerk, I'll give him 2 tickets.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
And maybe a hug.
And punch you right in your suck hole.
Whoa.
Yeah.
like Kobayashi. I've seen him do it. Sorry, now I'm quoting Step Brothers.
Yes, those Step
now
Brothers.
we're quoting Step Brothers.
It's going to be fantastic.
The way everybody has stood up and just supported the return of this party after 3 years. And hey, by the way, I can't get out of this outtake. This doesn't really fit in the body of the show, but let's do this here. One of the people attending Vegas for the very first time and our party for the first time is our friend Debbie Moltisanti, who just retired. Happy retirement, Debbie. We can't wait to see you.
It is awesome.
In Vegas at the Fan Geeks party, just in general. Thank you for all your years working in schools.
Yes.
Thank you for all the young minds that you've guided along the way. We can't wait to party with you in Vegas.
And unfortunately, in today's world, one of the other things is thank you for keeping the kids safe.
Yeah.
That's also very important. Yes. Enjoy the retirement. It is well deserved. And like Bill said, we can't wait to see everybody in Vegas. Like Bill said, it's such a reunion. It's right around the corner when you think of it. 83 days away. It's going to be phenomenal. I can't wait.
Vegas, baby, Vegas.
Yeah.
All right,
so that I got one more thing because things just pop into my head and I got to say it. So you know I'm going to do the Admiral Thanos is my plan for cosplay in Vegas.
I do know this.
I love Thanos. I love the Infinity Gauntlet. I got the Infinity Gauntlet Lego right there behind me. Today, available for pre-order is the Iron Man Nano Gauntlet. Guess who pre-ordered it today? Yeah, that's right, I did.
Oprah?
Very excited. Gonna have both gauntlets so I can snap and make you disappear and then snap again and make sure you never come back. There will be no blink.
I'm so confused. So confused.
Sorry. That's all I have.
Yeah, so glad you decided to share that. Are you ready?
I am ready. Let's do it.
All right, then let's do this. 13 minutes in. You got to talk about Lego gauntlets, you idiot. I have Lego gauntlets. And now he's on mute and dying. That's the best part.
Yep. Coconut.